Hello and welcome to Innsbruck for the 2022 IFSC Boulder World Cup. Tonight it's the men's finals and we have a spectacular set of boulders for you. My name is Matt Groom and I'm joined by Dan and Marky here in the commentary box. Coach, expert, all-round climbing, well, genius basically sitting next to me here. Dan, and look, we've checked out these boulders here tonight. I said they were spectacular. I have never seen a set of boulders like this before.
They are an exceptionally beautiful set of boulders splayed across the wall there. And we were just talking about how there's so much more room now, and the route setters are really taking advantage of that to show what they can make both physically and also artistically in some ways.
Exactly. They are spread across the wall. They're almost like roots. You can see that yellow and blue one in the background behind Jongwon Chon, our first athlete out. And his South Korean teammate, Dohyun Lee, he enters the arena, qualifying in second to last place for this finals. Great effort from him earlier on this morning when we had the men's semi-final. Yannick Flohé, Brixton winner, gold medalist from a couple of weeks ago. Can he do the same again here tonight? He's looking strong, he's looking fit. And look at that face, he's determined out there on the mats. Kokoro Fujii, current world champion. He's always the man to beat. Did well here in the semis, qualifying in third place. 29, he's been around a while here on the circuit. Never count him out. Colin Duffy, well, he's back in a final. First time since Switzerland months ago now. He was fifth there. He was, he ground out the boulders here this afternoon when we watched that. He's just 18. He was in the Olympics, of course. And that man, Yoshiyuki Ogata, you've got to say he's the favourite here for tonight. He flashed all of the qualifying boulders, most of the semi-final boulders, and now he's here in first place for the finals. Dan, as they turn and look at these boulders, any favourites that spring to mind looking at that set of athletes?
Any favourites? More than anything, I'm extremely excited. There's some really interesting stories going on behind a lot of the athletes here. So we've got Jongwon Chon, Dohyun Lee. They actually have a really special connection. We've got Yannick Flohé, who finished his first finals in Brixton, the previous competition. He actually dominated that entire comp and then just about squeezed into semi-finals. That was a funny experience. Colin Duffy, obviously an Olympian. He hasn't been consistent in the finals, but when he does get to the finals, we saw in Meiringen, he put on a performance like no other. He had an outrageous number of top holes. He had to climb boulders multiple times.
Yeah, he climbed on three times.
He did keep climbing. It was amazing. And then, yes, Yoshiyuki Ogata, as I believe it is now official, he is the overall champion. He cannot be beaten. So if we want to put our money on someone, it's a good one to put it on.
That's true. So he is the overall winner for this season. This is the final Boulder World Cup of the year, and this is boulder number 1. Powerful, short, intense, as you can see from the description, and a slightly strange start. Put it like this, the route setters said they had to climb a boulder to just start the boulder.
Yeah. You can see that first green tag on the right, that starting right-hand hole, but it's actually not quite straightforward to get to. And then you have to climb an exceptionally hard boulder afterwards.
So the aim of bouldering, you start at the bottom on those green tags, you finish at the top on the top, and there's a scoring zone along the way. That zone in the circle with the pink line. So that's the first opportunity for the athletes to get points on the board. And now, this process in the Climbing World Cup is a bit of a strange one because the athletes get 2 minutes to observe these boulders, to work out how to climb it.
Yeah, always super interesting. And there's different aspects to the sport. There's the isolation aspect. You're not supposed to know anything beforehand. And then they come out, they get this period of time to observe each boulder, and then suddenly they all start conversing. And I would love to be on the fly on that wall. What are they saying? Are they genuine? I actually think most of them are, but there's always the thought like, oh, I'll just leave one word out of that sentence, which I think is pretty key.
Well, it's a nice thing about our sport that the athletes do share the beta there, and you can see them both working within their teams. Team Japan has 2 finalists, as does Team South Korea, but they're also chatting amongst themselves, because as much as it is, one person versus the other, they want to get to the end of these boulders, and sharing beta is one of the only ways they can do that.
Yeah, that is very much the communal aspect. And you could also almost argue in one that if they have similar beta, then it is the challenge of who's the strongest. But in the end, it actually isn't, because they all have different strengths, weaknesses, body types, and most of the time when we are watching World Cup climbs, athletes are often figuring out different ways of doing it.
Well, this is boulder number 2, and we said they took up a lot of space. Look how long that thing is. Starting on the right, a long boulder, as you can see, slopers for feet, and really, it's all about the final move, and we'll chat about that when we get to it. So starting down low, there it is on the start. Bit of a sloper, quite hard to hold, and a salad bowl hold. That's what the starting hold is called. The zone in the middle, and then a vicious cross-through move to get established underneath that top hold. And the final move requires so much concentration because a moment's lapse and your feet are slipping off that green sloper.
Yeah, this very big turquoise hold, sort of mint-colored hold you see on the wall. It is so big, but it is incredibly deceptive. It is very, very hard to stand on.
So the athletes check it out. They've got 5 seconds left on this boulder, and then they will move on to the next one.
Time for another switch. That's boulder number 3.
So boulder number 3, as they get their first look at it. On the right-hand side of the wall, on a more slabby section.
More slabby section. But we can see quite big footholds there, and so your first thought is, okay, it's not about standing or balancing on small feet. Actually, this boulder is leading towards more of a dynamic movement, which involves a lot of coordination. You have to figure out a lot of different things at the same time. As the setter took us through it, he said it is a learned movement, and it's basically who's going to learn it the quickest.
Absolutely, and you can see Colin Duffy there looking puzzled as he looked to the left. It's meant to be a jump start, so you come off those initial holds and palm down on that yellow one that Yoshiyuki Ogata is pointing to, and the one on the right with the purple top. That's the way it is envisaged to be done, but of course we've seen athletes break the beta so many times.
It's often my favorite part about the sport, when you just really upset the route setter that spent so much time upsetting you.
So the athletes have a minute left, and you can see Colin Duffy is still trying to figure this out. He's the only member of Team USA. So let's have a look at our 3D rendition of this boulder as we zoom in on our wall. So starting down on the right, remember a green hold for every limb, and then you're meant to jump left, palm down on both of those slopers, and then you continue up towards the zone, which is, I mean, it's really a non-hold, that zone, but we'll look at it in a sec. So there you go. 4 starting to the palm. There's the zone. Tiny, tiny hold. A finger or a thumb on that thing. And then you start to go left to quite a good crimp. And the top, I mean, there's going to be some jumping involved in this one.
It's not close. It's definitely not close. And while the top looks like it might be good, we've been told there is a good chance of dropping, and when you see that big foothold, you're thinking, okay, they're not going directly to the top. You've got to jump off that foot first.
So the athletes now run all the way down to the other end of the wall to look at the final boulder, and it has to be, I mean, it's by far the longest, biggest boulder I've ever seen on an IFSC World Cup.
This might be a record as the biggest boulder we've ever seen, but in contrast, it potentially has some of the fewest moves. They are big, big moves you're doing through this boulder.
It's going to be interesting because there's a lead comp in a couple of days' time. The athletes, the ones who are competing in lead, are in good shape, so endurance is key for them. And this boulder looks like it involves a bit of endurance as well as just power.
I think so. When you're getting to, you can see this yellow undercut with incredibly poor feet. That's the point where you're not going to be stable, you're not going to be able to rest, and you're coming to the end of your sort of energy. You've got one more big push to the top, and we're going to be seeing maybe a split between the athletes who have that sort of power, endurance, and the athletes that maybe don't.
So you can see Jongwon Chon facing the audience. Sometimes the route setters put in a move like that where they want them to face that, and so often the athletes ignore that instinct to face into the wall because it's just more natural, isn't it?
It is more natural, and it's an interesting direction a lot of route setting is going now. It's actually forcing climbers to do movements which are feeling unnatural, but they do work better. And so when you twist into the wall, you have your whole torso against the wall. Theoretically, your center of gravity is much closer to the wall than if you're facing out from the wall.
Well, that's our start, and you come up towards a pocket up there on the blue volume, then turn and spin. Well, there's an iron cross move first of all to the first yellow, second yellow pocket, then a spin into the zone, Then you drop down to the slope, and then you go up to the top. So it is long, but as you said, not really a lot of moves in it.
No, and it's going to be very interesting seeing such big, powerful movements, essentially all on the arms.
Well, that is the end of our observation time. The athletes are allowed to touch those first few holes. They can't pull off the ground, but they can see what they feel like, and you can see Yannick Flohé there doing exactly that. That is our crowd here at the Kletterzentrum gym. And look, Dan, we've been walking around this place for the last couple of days. It's a pretty cool place to be hanging out.
It is a very cool place and so much structure. You see this lead wall set in front of you. Amazing, really cool to see.
Well, we are almost underway here. Those are the mountains that surround this climbing wall, this stadium. I think it's like an amphitheater. You feel like there's something bigger looming above you at all times.
That is one of the beautiful aspects of Innsbruck as a city.
Well, we've got to chat about the weather. So let's chat about the weather because it is baking hot and it has been for a lot of the week. Yesterday during the paraclimbing, it rained, which cooled everything down. But tonight, it feels a bit sticky, a bit humid out there.
It's a bit sticky. Notably, though, it is a lot less sticky than it... Maybe not sticky is not the right word. Earlier on, it was blistering. It was so hard to just walk across the centre. Never mind compete in a semi-final. And we definitely saw this in the results. It was very, very interesting to see.
It was indeed. Well, that is our top 6. So two South Korean athletes, 2 Japanese athletes, and the Japanese have been dominating, especially the men's final recently. German and Team USA in there. So wide range of different countries in our final. And that is our audience. They're sitting there just catching the last rays of the sun, enjoying a beer or two while they watch what is setting up to be a pretty spectacular evening of climbing here at the Kletterzentrum. So, we're minutes away. We'll be starting on boulder number 1. Where the aim of the game, of course, is to climb to the top as quickly as possible. And that's our stadium, and we can't wait to get going. And the crowd there, a very educated crowd here tonight.
Very educated, potentially one of the most educated crowds around, potentially in the entire World Cup circuit, considering the facility they have here. This facility is world-class, top level. It is for Austrian team training, but multiple other teams are coming here regularly to carry out their training because it is such a high-level facility. And if you're from Innsbruck, this is where you climb, and you're climbing on World Cup level boulders.
Absolutely. So we're going to have, that is boulder number 1. Let's just have one last look at that in this 3-day rendition to remind us what we've got in store. Remember, it's a boulder problem before you even start the thing. So you've got to do some quite hard climbing just to get into the position. And if you're new to bouldering, we'll be taking you through that starting position as we go on. So once you've got established, once you're on the thing, with that right hand up on the crimp, then continue towards that zone. Difficult moves, a lot of body tension required for this, and screw-ons on top of the volumes, and then finishing, could be quite a nasty catch move onto that top.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting. There's potentially 2 options, to catch or to cross over, and whichever athlete is stronger in these methods, likely to choose, but I think this crossover looks like the way that's going to maybe be more natural, but that depends on how good the top hold is.
Yeah, well, we're excited for this. Danon is a coach, a movement expert, and he'll be analysing for us everything the athletes do and the different techniques that they use to get to the top of the wall. Nice sign there, showing some support for the Federation. Good to see. And we've got climbing all week. Tomorrow it's the women's semi-finals and then the women's finals for boulder. Saturday and Sunday, the qualifying for the lead, semi-finals for lead, and finals for lead. So, packed schedule. And Jongwon Chon waits backstage to be called into the arena for the first time. He's looking nervous out there today, gets the nod, and the relief he must feel after all the build-up to finally get climbing.
Yeah, very exciting. I absolutely love watching Jongwon Chon in finals. He's so expressive and such an amazing athlete. It's always a good experience.
It is, and he's found a real run of form this year. He's climbing well. So that's the boulder problem that we were talking about, but he made it look pretty simple, to be fair to him. He was 11th in Brixton in our last comp. Can he improve on that? 4th is his best this year in Salt Lake City, as he comes up with the left hand into the zone. But you've got to control that properly. He will get the scoring zone for that. And an easy start on your right across through straight away for Jongwon Chon.
Goodness, what great tension throughout there. And there he leaps off the wall. He is very happy with that. And that last move, actually the whole thing to keep an eye on was that left foot. He drove it in and very carefully able to cross over. That was exciting.
It's always a bit worrying when we see the first athlete flash something that quickly, but it isn't always an indication that the boulder is too easy. It might be, but sometimes that first athlete out, it just could be their style.
Could be their style. As we saw earlier today, I think actually the conditions in the semi-finals had a significant impact on the results. And we saw Yannick Flohé coming out first, theoretically not qualifying in a high position, and then dominating for the rest of the round.
Absolutely, he qualified in 19th, Yannick, coming to this final. So Jongwon Chon gets his comp off to the great start. Now, attempts to the top count in this. A flash is the best way to climb a boulder. It's when you start at the bottom and finish at the top the first time you climb it. That is the best score possible. That's what all the athletes will be aiming for. It's easier said than done, though. Dohyun Lee, his teammate from South Korea, comes out. He's just 19, but he's had a good run of form. He was 4th in Brixton, 10th in Salt Lake, 10th in South Korea.
I think very exciting. When Jongwon Chon introduced Lee to me, he introduced him as his brother. And for the first time, I was quite confused. It's different names. I didn't question it. But I think I'll get back to the story after we see his attempt.
Yeah, he's coming up towards the zone. Pinches there. You can see the thumb in action, working hard. Steps up with the right foot. And this boulder, you've got to say at this moment, if you're a route setter, you're getting a bit nervous because he is cruising these moves, as Jongwon Chon did. Thumb in the hole, that is allowed. Brings the left foot up. Oh, and then slips at the very top.
Oh, he'll be very upset with that. Just not quite the right foot placement. I think actually earlier on he decided to put that left foot on the higher hold, the one above the starting hand hold. And at the later point in the climb, wasn't able to bring it down to the starting hold where Jongwon Chon had his foot. And then that made the match at the end very difficult.
Seemed like a case of doing a little too much there almost, just working a little too hard to get that top.
Often people are saying, bring your feet up, bring your feet up. But if it's the wrong place, it's not going to work.
So Dohyun Lee doesn't get the flash on that boulder. And you can see down on the bottom left, that bar, that fills all the way up for a top, halfway for a zone. So he's got the zone, and now he's looking to fill that bar all the way to finish things off. So Dohyun Lee will rest. He's got the beater now. He's got 2.5 minutes. It's lots of time. Just needs to readjust that foot.
Yeah, I think he'll be feeling quite confident with his performance that first time, and he's just needs to figure out now what to do differently for the top. Is it going to be changing the foot before, or is he going to try the same method again and try to get more pressure on that high foot? Very high risk, and as we've just watched someone else successfully climb the boulder, we'll be thinking the other method might be better.
Yeah, these athletes have no idea what the other athletes have done. They won't know the techniques, they won't know the failures or the successes. They have to work it out for themselves for the first time. So, Dohyun Lee, once again, into the last section of this boulder. Quick work. Let's see what he does with that left foot. He needs to match both hands on that final hold. In control. Much better that time.
There it is, going for the same foot placement as Jongwon Chon, and it seemed to work exceptionally well for him.
So, Dohyun Lee leaves our arena. Second go for him. Let's watch a replay of that moment. So bumping up to the zone looked easy off that crimp.
Looked easy, incredibly high tension. You can see the left foot is on a very, very poor smear. So much tension through the hands to pull yourself up there. But if that left foot pops off, he is going to go. So such a highly complex movement, even though it does seem quite straightforward.
What we can see from those wonderful shots, how small these holds are. It's sometimes hard to get an impression of how difficult the boulders are until you see what they're actually holding on to.
Yeah, incredibly hard. Climbing now is at such a high level. I feel in this last season, it's actually really peaked. It's found a new high point, and I'm not sure where it's going to go next.
So, Yannick Flohé enters the stadium. Last World Cup's winner. As we said, he squeaked into the semi-finals in 19th place. We were slightly worried about his form, but then that semi-finals was a heck of a performance from him.
Very, very good performance. It was an interesting experience watching the coaches sit through qualification, the stress on their faces as they watch Yannick start to go down the level. But he did make it through.
He's full of power, this man. Comes up and matches. Not quite cruising it as much as the two South Korean athletes, but doesn't really matter. Making good progress as he comes up. He's got the zone hold, switches the feet over, needs to match that top hold in control and does so very easily. And, well, this is Flash City at the moment, if that's the thing.
The team quite pleased with that. He's in and he's out. Did not take very long.
So he will have saved on energy and skin there, and that is important because his boulders are intense, and he's had a lot of climbing today already. 4 boulders in that semi-final already completed for him. I've been wondering what those stickers are, but I think it's sponsor logos.
No, they. He told me about those stickers. They're used by race car drivers, and they make your muscles stronger. I think there's some titanium in them or something.
Right.
Yeah, he told me about them with as much as a smile on his face as I'm currently telling you.
Hey, look, if it psychologically helps him, fair play. And I'm sure it's been regulated by the IFSC, of course.
I think he's just going to buy more and more.
Just cover himself in stickers. I might try that. So Team Germany sitting down the front, that's the coaches. And they can't give him any help when he is climbing, but obviously they're right behind their man. So Yannick Flohé leaves the stage. Well, you blink and you miss it with 3 athletes into this men's final. And you've got to say, Kokoro Fujii, you'd expect him also to flash this kind of a climb.
Kokoro Fujii is maybe one of the most interesting climbers in finals, as he is so strong, so competent. But he is known to struggle a bit with nerves. And so this is really affected. He should dominate very often, but it sometimes doesn't go that way.
He's the first athlete who looked like he was struggling on that first move just a little bit, because it isn't an easy sequence through there. So Kokoro getting stood up now on that starting hold. We know the sequence, right foot, left foot. Once he got through those initial moves, absolutely cruising. Maybe that was the nerves you were talking about down low.
Yep, that little start, it looked like he wanted to jump maybe, and then took a second to think better of it. And it is a skill that you have to learn, and Kokoro, I've been told, has to put more time into learning this skill. But he is getting there. He is one of the best climbers in the world.
You've coached these athletes. How much mental side of the training is there compared to the physical side?
Oh, it's very interesting, this aspect. We are starting to get more mental coaches involved in the scene, but any top-level coach will tell you that half of their job is being a psychologist. But it's very integrated. You can't explicitly say, okay, you're coming for a psychology session now. It's very much like part of the whole experience, building trust, trying to understand, but also not pushing athletes too much. They're already in such a high-pressure place, and they really work hard on their mental game on their own side, so you don't want to tamper too much.
It's interesting with pressure, because most of these athletes in the final are pretty experienced. I mean, Colin Duffy, yes, he hasn't been in that many finals, but he's an Olympian, so he's got that kind of pressure under his belt. So
he's a very interesting athlete. I've heard about other coaches that have worked with him, and they say this guy has got something for sure. And if it's going to be anything, it's that insane mental game that's required.
I was climbing in the gym here last week, and he was just walking around flashing every single one of the hardest boulders in the gym, just in a row, just ticking them off. He's in some form.
In a row. So a bit more of a difficult start there, as the undercut is higher up for him, but once he realised what to do and really approach it, it wasn't a bother.
Yeah, we're seeing the same beta, really, from all the athletes. Colin a little shorter, which might contribute to that, but stands up nicely now, having to adjust that hand, matches. Yeah, made it look a little bit more difficult there at the top, but just perhaps a different position for him.
He used that left foot to come across, which is an interesting method. It might have been that he realized, he sort of decided preemptively that his right hip wasn't quite flexible enough, and so putting this left foot up, still an incredibly flexible position, but a different type of flexibility. Maybe he's aware that he has more ability there, and so utilizes it.
So Colin Duffy tops out nicely. He had to bump that hand a couple of times, but got well adjusted on it. And then dropping that right leg, probably deliberate.
Dropping the right leg, opening up to allow the body to come across, the hand to come up. But the thing to watch there, the thing to keep your eyes peeled on is the left foot. If that goes, he's gone.
It's a great shot, showing the concentration in his face. He was just waiting, making sure the judges award it. So Colin Duffy gets it done. Good start from him. That'll settle the nerves. And we have one final athlete to join us for this first boulder. There he is, Yoshiyuki Ogata on stage, 24. So he'll enter, face the audience, and he'll get going in a second. So he's off the ground, gets going. And the start we're familiar with by now.
Very familiar. Looks like he has some decent pace. No bother with that first pull. Now let's see, we've got so many flashes on this boulder. He will not want to mess it up.
Yeah, he doesn't know it's an easy one. And it certainly seems a bit easy at this stage. Look at that cross through. Complete control from Yoshiyuki Ogata. He will maintain the #1 position due to count back to the semi-finals. We'll see a leaderboard in a sec, but that is a perfect start for that man. Needed to get it done, carrying a lot of stuff there on stage for such a quick boulder. And in that bag, he'll have extra shoes, tape in case it's bleeding, liquid chalk, other chalk, more chalk.
It is a bit of a running joke that we always said bouldering was the most pure form of climbing, but the number of bits and bobs, gadgets and accessories the climbers are bringing around to really push that maximum level is starting to question this adjective pure.
Absolutely. So that's our first boulder. All 6 athletes getting cleanly through that first sequences, that first boulder. So we'll move on to boulder #2, but let's have a little look at the results here. See where we're at. Just watching someone, a giveaway on stage. Throw it up here. We're up on the right-hand side of the stage, overlooking this stadium. Not sure what she's offering, but certainly the crowd want it. Some freebies, why not? Nice to see. Well, let's have a look at the results. So Yoshiyuki Ogata, he keeps his first place position because of his qualifying from the semi-finals. Colin Duffy in second, Kokoro Fujii, Yannick Flohé, Jongwon Chon and Dohyun Lee down the bottom because he took 2 attempts instead of 1.
Otherwise it is just count back to the semi-finals.
So Yoshiyuki Ogata, he's the flash king here at this event so far. Most of the boulders he's climbed, he's flashed. So let's see Yoshiyuki Ogata again. Complete control from him. Great. Absolutely wonderful to see.
Yeah, leans into the wall.
So there he goes, crossing through. Lovely slow motion shots as he pinches that top volume and pinches to match at the end. And you do have to match that final hold. You can't just slap at it and touch it.
No. The whole concept of the format does base its ideas around, okay, theoretically you could climb further. And so you do have to match, you do have to be controlled so that theoretically you could climb further. That's kind of the baseline that we work with. And if someone is swinging, uncontrolled, only has one hand on, then we don't know. Maybe they would have fallen off at that point.
Well, boulder #1, a little easy perhaps for the standard of these athletes, but things are going to get harder here because this boulder really ramps it up with some very tricky moves. So Dan, talk us through the sequences that we're going to see here.
Well, this incredibly difficult start. We're also going to see some quite high feet there on the right into the start, and then as they come across the zone, suddenly it's going to be very, very high tension. Walking their feet along these black crimps and then coming down to the big mint-colored circle, which is actually incredibly hard to stand on before leaping to the top.
Well, we're back in action here. That is Jongwon Chon from South Korea, coming out 5 golds, 3 silvers and 3 bronzes in boulder comps. So very experienced athlete. He's used to winning. And he's taking a second to remember this boulder because there's a lot going on here.
There is a lot going on. I think it is quite a almost cerebral boulder. Your brain is going to be in your feet a lot, making sure to stand right, to put the pressure in the right place. It's going to be really interesting.
Jongwon kicking karate style across the wall, and then he needs to drop down to this zone. And he's matching Jongwon coming onto the crimp.
This high pressure on the feet, now switching to a different type of pressure on the big blue hold to relax the feet to stand on it.
If you just joined us, Jongwon Chon is on boulder number 2, and he's at the end of this sequence, crossing through. And then his final jump to the top. Oh, and a slip from him.
There we're talking about how it's so hard to relax the calves, essentially, and let your heels sink down so that you can stand on this big blue volume. And that's just what went wrong there.
So Jongwon got close. And that's the move the route set has told us about, because if you lose concentration, but it was the flick that did it, wasn't it? Because the second he tried to flick, he took a bit of weight off his feet.
He took a bit of weight. It's a very natural thing to rise your body up as you do this kind of quick, snappy movement. Rather than pulling from the arms, you throw your hips up a little bit and then snap in. But he threw his hips up from his ankles, and that's where it went wrong. And if you watched, it was actually that right toe that came off the wall before anything else.
The athletes, of course, are wearing rubber sticky shoes, and they do help stand on the wall. You couldn't do this if you were wearing normal trainers, and they're high-quality pieces of equipment the athletes have to trust. You can see why when you see feet movements like that.
Oh, yeah.
So Jongwon Chon has another go. He's got the zone, as you can see on the score, and that will bump him up to the top at the moment because he's the first athlete out. That might change. You can see he's just rereading this sequence.
Yeah, really trying to make sure he can repeat what he did the first time and then figure out what went wrong so he can fix that and get to the top.
If you remember back in the day, Jongwon Chon used to wear a lot of tape on his arms. I was told by my co-commentator this afternoon that was purely aesthetic, apparently.
Purely aesthetic?
That is apparently it. So I'm not sure now whether that tape on his left is aesthetic or if it's for an injury. I don't know. I haven't seen it before on him. Look at him. He's so much fun is Jongwon Chon getting the audience behind him as he launches up one more time for his second go with a minute 12 on the clock.
Cruising through this hard start section, so difficult to keep your body weight in the correct positions. That right hand hold is incredibly poor. Now we're into this intense crux, standing on the bad feet. He has to calm down, commit his way onto that left foot, and couldn't.
Yeah, it was an awkward position, and it shows the flexibility he has and the strength in the flexibility. Now, he doesn't have to take all of this time, and I think he's called it on that. He's got the zone. I don't think he thinks he can do it. And to be honest, a boulder of that length, he hasn't really got time either. So look at that. He tries to match his hand to the foot. Oh, there's the fingers that let go.
Yeah, it's such an interesting part of bouldering is you have so much power in your first go, and then you can be very aware that you might not have any left. Oh my God, that was half of one-arm pull-up he just did.
Showboating out there is Jongwon Chon. Absolutely wonderful to see. Now, this is the move that spat him off before. Holds the balance this time, and again, that sloper not providing the purchase he would have wanted. Jongwon Chon is on form here today.
Very much on form. You can see how much tension and power he had in his body on those first attempts. Very, very cool, very, very powerful. But you could see in his face, once he came off, that power was gone, and he was quite apprehensive about his next attempt.
Well, that isn't a dance move. That is Jongwon trying to get the pump out of his arms, ready for another attempt. The athletes only have 4 minutes to do this boulder. And it's one of the unique things about our sport, because if this boulder was in a gym and these athletes were climbing on it and they had lots of time, they'd send it, more than likely. But it's that time limit that adds the pressure for them.
That time limit, that pressure. You're thinking, okay, I'm at a World Cup final. I really have to do this. Right, let's relax my feet. Nobody wants to relax their feet in that situation. They want to pull as hard as they can.
So Jongwon Chon only gets the zone on that boulder. Our series of tops is broken. Dohyun Lee is up next. He gets the nod, comes out onto the stage, and there he is. Now, he didn't flash the first boulder, so he's slightly on the back foot at this point.
Yeah, for sure, he has less of this World Cup experience, and so little mistakes like this come through. It's something that most athletes take a lot of time to learn and adapt to, but he is here, he is doing exceptionally well, so there's every opportunity he's going to keep improving.
And this was the move that Jongwon almost showboated on with that one-arm rest position. Dohyun Lee kicking that right leg to pull his weight around, drops down to the zone. And that's wonderful. Look, as the wind blows, it literally looks like he's flying Superman style through the middle section of this route. High foot up. And then this smeary sequence where the concentration really kicks in.
Keep an eye on the feet through here.
Spinning down. So, is that a foot movement mistake? Body weight? What was going on?
Looked like as he reached out left, he actually just let his center of gravity come a little bit too far away. It is sort of a response so that you don't lean too far over your left toe. So he leans away as he tries to reach across left. But unfortunately, in this very intense position with that right hand right by the chest, if your center of gravity comes even a couple of centimeters further out, you don't have strength to hold it.
Our brushers out there on the mats, their job is to clean the holds for the athletes, because the more athletes that touch the holds, the more chalk that goes on them, the less grip there is. And the brushing helps to improve that grip and make sure the athletes have they're all climbing on the same boulder. It all feels the same for everyone. So Dohyun Lee with the heel hook gets stood up underneath, crosses through to the sloper, and then into the salad bowl hold on the left. Oh, he always just looks ever so slightly out of control on that movement.
Yeah, it is. There's very little control in that right arm. And then as you grab the good hold with the left, your body swings across. So that's where the energy pulls it.
So now, look, that's a great angle to show what he's standing on. It's basically nothing he's standing on. There's no edges, there's no flat surface, smooth as can be. And Dohyun Lee at the moment is a bit flummoxed by this move.
Very, very difficult to pull so hard on crimps while relaxing your lower body.
So Dohyun applies liquid chalk, dries on the hands, and it's a good base layer, especially when it's hot and humid.
But this will be a very interesting finals for Dohyun Lee, being with Jongwon Chon for the first time, I believe. As I was mentioning earlier, Jongwon Chon introduced Dohyun as his brother, which was exceptionally interesting. Wondered for a while at the start, but was later told that it was actually Dohyun Lee's parents that taught Jongwon Chon to climb. And so they've been together climbing for a long, long time. So he does really see this athlete as his brother. And now, after so much time, Dohyun Lee is competing at the same level as Jongwon Chon, which is really unique.
That was a wonderful shot to show how flat his foot is on the wall. Trying to get as much of his soul on it as possible, but it is almost, I mean, it's almost flat there on the wall. There's not a lot on it.
Really not a lot. You create so much power with the arms, and that's, if your whole body weight was on your foot, you would come off, so you're still taking a lot with the arms.
So a slip down low for Dohyun Lee, perhaps showing a little bit of fatigue now. He's thrown himself at this boulder so many times already. Smearing up, matching, trying to get as much skin as possible as he slaps up. Got the fingers there working that textured surface down to the zone. And again, just starting to rush a little bit. He knew the clock was there and his time was running out.
Very, very interesting to watch it. The display of power as he kind of grabbed every hold not quite right, but still kept going. It was quite impressive.
Dohyun Lee looking a little disappointed as he leaves the stage. It was a good effort from him though, and we have so far seen no tops on this boulder. This was the move that seemed wild as he flung out that right leg kicking, moving his body weight over.
One of those quite interesting moves in climbing. If you go from an exceptionally poor hold into an exceptionally good hold, as you can create more force with that hand, your body whips across to where the force is coming from. And it's very cool to see.
So that was Dohyun Lee. Next athlete out will be Yannick Flohé from Germany. Remember last week's winner, so a man who has so much quality and talent. So there he is, he got the nod from the judge and he enters the arena.
We're very excited to see what Yannick's performance is like today, as we were trying to think if anyone had won every round of a competition before, of a World Cup before, and at least from me and the rest of the members of the German team, we couldn't recite an example. But Yannick Flohé did do that last time in Brixen.
Yeah, it's his third finals this year, and he is looking in great form as he gets stood up. But he needs to turn this move, does it dynamically and catching with the right foot, keeping it on. Both the South Korean athletes were flying left at that point.
Yeah, very, very impressive use of coordination.
Oh, you can hear the crowd's reaction because what he's doing there just defies physics, belief. It's unbelievable, and I don't think he's going to be able to make it work, and he is be able to make it work. Drops down to the crib. That feat of strength that we've just witnessed is I've lost the words. That was incredible.
The amount of power going through one side of his body there, insane. But I've been saying this again and again, the amount of power Yannick Flohé produces when he climbs is not quite calculable.
So Yannick doing the impossible. I think he might, will he adjust his beta on that? It looked, look at this move. He locks it off and he is sideways, hanging there in the air. That right shoulder having to work so hard. He drills the right foot in, but now I thought this was the move he was going to drop, bringing that left down. But look, he saved it with that left foot pressing against the wall.
Save it with the left foot. The most difficult part in that movement is actually bending your right leg as you come down into the crimp. And that's the part where the coordination breaks down. We must assume when Yannick Flohé is climbing, it is not a question of strength.
No, that's very true. Yeah. Yeah, he can outstrength the best of them. And
Such
look at that.
an amazing angle there.
I can't wait to see if he's going to change this because, that must have taken something out of him. Surely he can't do it again. Let's see.
He has match, so it looks like he'll go with the other hand.
Okay, so a different sequence, which, as you can see, far, far easier. Hopefully that first attempt hasn't taken too much out of him because he's a man who could top this thing.
Keep an eye on the feet. And the same as Dohyun Lee before, leaning away, afraid to commit the weight over that left foot, coming too far back from the wall.
Yeah, he's in the first position because he got to the zone. Faster time, and then into the crimp. And this was the moment, look, just pinging off with that left, and it's blocked that crimp. Something very deliberate by the root setters.
Very deliberate. It makes the crimp a lot worse than it actually is on its own. So you really only get almost just your nails behind in there, and you have to pull in to a point where you generate pressure on that left foot so you can match feet and walk further along.
Well, that is an extreme close-up of what he has to go to, and as you can see, that blocker hold means it's a very thin edge for him to grab, and you have to be precise with the blocked hold as well. You can't just snatch at it because you're going to hit that other hold.
That is the sort of original idea of blocking holds. One part is to make the hold smaller, the other part is actually, if you're not precise in hitting the hold, then you're not going to get it.
So there it is from another angle. You can see that's probably about half a pad of your finger, maybe a full pad perhaps, but it's small. So we get the Aufgates call from the commentator in the stadium.
I love this movement. There's actually no balance point before he actually throws himself left into this balance point. Really unnatural to think, okay, I have no center of balance point. I'm going to go in a direction and I'll find it.
So Yannick once again tries to keep the pressure on his feet. Oh, and popping again with the fingers, and he's going to run out of time on that. So Yannick will call it a day. And look, one of the strange aspects of our sport is the fact that he was on it 3 times. He did this insane move, but he's going to get the same zone score as both of the South Korean athletes.
Yeah, that is just a question of format. And when you add more zones to a boulder, you will change how the boulders need to be made. A certain amount of movements need to happen before you can achieve a zone. So that's just how the sport works. This is the part where we split it up to achieve the score.
So he came close. This was the better method, although the first one was definitely more exciting for us. Coming back down, he was almost casual with that movement. The feet is so bad. Right foot smearing on the wall. And let's look at this. Let's see how close he came. Pretty precise. Had to readjust once, but you'd expect that on a move like that.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I'm just coming too far back from the wall. The coach is there. Everyone a little bit more upset because they know Yannick himself knows he is perfectly capable of doing this boulder and came exceptionally close.
So, 3 done. Kokoro Fujii is up next. waves to the crowd. An athlete who can pull off outrageous moves. I've seen it happen. The world champs, where he was world champion, he did a sequence that I'll never forget on the Moscow wall. And now he takes a moment to brush the holds. This is something we sometimes see. It just means the athlete gets exactly what they want from the brushing.
Yeah, but a lot of people can be quite particular on brushing. You see someone brush the top of the hold and not actually get the edge that you're pulling on. It can be very irritating.
Well, Kokoro Fujii making sure. High heel. And we know the sequence through here. This is the first move that might change. Out to the left, the right foot swinging, and he drops back down to the starting hold.
Gather himself composed for the next part of the climb.
Every time I see someone not do it the Yannick way, I just think how crazy Yannick's way was. So crimping with the right hand, and then dropping, catching it with 3 fingers. Oh, the foot bobble sent him down.
The foot goes. He actually looked good. You could see that second where he looked at his foot and he placed it exactly how he wanted to place it, which theoretically is a very good sign, but as we can see at this level, might not be enough.
Now, when we talked about this boulder with the route setters, the one thing they said is it needs to be slow, this last sequence. So are the athletes being slow enough?
It's a matter of tension. So when you move slowly, you get less of these rapid changes in the surface area of your feet. And that's, theoretically, you could stand on a much worse hold. But if you switch from a good hold to a bad hold quickly, that's when we'll lose our friction to the wall. So slow is often the main cue that we'll use to tell someone. And that is, the outcome is that they keep better tension on the feet. They don't switch the surface area too quickly. So it is a cue. It's not exactly what changes the physics, but it is the cue that changes the body.
So Kokoro Fujii again through the bottom. He's currently sitting in first place. If he can get a top, it's going to set him up well for the rest of it. But he's only got 1:50 to work out this sequence. So powerful as he swings out left. And then check the feet.
Look at the eyes there. They picked the foot. It did slide though. Held it somehow. Pure power in the arms.
And look at him looking down at the feet. Oh, that's some strength, I tell you, to hold that shoulder move.
Wow. That is, he'll be very upset with that. The amount of power he had there. And then what actually happened as he fell back, refused to come off the wall, went again. He went too far and his fingers gripped past the hold. This is the first time, and then he goes further and he isn't far enough away from the hold. He actually closed his hand too far away.
And you can see the smile in his face as he came down. And the second he hit the mat, as he turned, hands on hips, looking accusingly up at the holds he'd just fallen from.
He also has titanium patches, which is, we can guarantee why he didn't fall off there, surely.
Yeah, I've learned something today. I did not know what those patches were. I'm going to get me some of them.
I don't think they do either, but they put them on, so.
Well, you learn something new every day. And these athletes trying new things. So Kokoro once more, he's got 36 seconds, which is going to be a bit tight. This will be his last attempt on this. Out to the left. Starts to make the movements left, swinging. Drops down to the zone. 20 seconds on the clock. He's got time at the bobble, and that might not leave him enough, and it doesn't. So Kokoro Fujii also doesn't unlock this boulder. We've gone from a boulder that was maybe too easy to now a boulder that looks very difficult to solve.
Very difficult to solve. Route setters will not be sweating too much. They are really hoping that someone does this boulder, but if one does it, then that is the perfect outcome.
So that was him applying that liquid chalk. And it's cooled down here in the stadium, actually. It's quite a nice atmosphere. So Kokoro drops down. That was the sequence. Those were the movements in the feet. You can see not near on that attempt. And watch that one more time. That right foot was the one that slipped. That's what caused him to fall.
Just a bit bouncy in the core there. There's a bit of weakness. You want that high tension. You don't want to be sliding.
So Kokoro done. We'll move on to Colin. Colin Duffy gets a big reaction from the crowd. He's a popular young man. And we'll see him in action in the lead. He's registered for that.
Yeah, he's got his eyes on the next Olympics.
Who doesn't at this point? I mean, look, the Olympics changed the format. Speed gets his own discipline, so yeah, these boulderers and lead climbers will be certainly eyeing that one up. Into the slopers for Colin. Slightly awkward. Oh, and that right foot kicking way to the left.
Yeah, that big whip. He didn't have the same stability on those holds as the other ones.
Dropping down, chalking up.
Locking off for the chalk up there. I like that.
Colin, that won't be showboating for him. It will just be the easiest position. And he matches the zone hold before bringing the left down. High foot. Trying to keep that tension.
Not have this in an undercut, not the same way the other athletes did. They had it hand over.
Colin reading this, is it a case of, I don't want to say inexperience, because it's not, because he just sees things differently sometimes. And he's good at adjusting and trying different sequences out. It's something that makes him so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, watching him in other rounds of climbing, I've seen him try a lot of different sequences. Many he can make work. This is just a matter of his climbing style. And you could almost argue, the saying goes, if you're strong enough, you can do anything, climb any way you want to. And that could be what's going on with Colin. And then you have to ask, okay, he was one of the only people without a teammate during observation. Is that why we're seeing him try different methods here?
Yeah, he was deep in talks with Kokoro Fujii, especially I saw him talking to. But yeah, you are right. Teammates tend to group together, solve the problems. So Colin Duffy, with 2 minutes on the clock, goes again. Will he have locked in the movements better this time? Changes the heel. Reaches up, and he at one point attempted a high right foot here and immediately thought better of it. He's eyeing up. Oh, and a little dry fire perhaps to the left. And ow, he says, yeah. It hurts dry firing like that, both psychologically and for your fingers.
Was that a dry fire? It was quite relatively slow for a dry fire. I was a bit worried.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was
a dry fire, big one.
Wow. Just from the angle, we missed that entirely. I think he slapped himself in his stomach almost.
Oh. It numbs your fingers when that happens. It's a horrible feeling, isn't it?
It's really one of the most unpleasant parts of climbing, for sure.
And usually you can go away and sort of take a 2-minute break and have a little chill, but he can't. He's got to get back on.
He's got to get back on. He's got to put away that sound of one hand clapping.
So Colin drops across, he adjusts the fingers for the match, snatches at it, makes it work. Reaches under his own foot. Almost in a figure 4 position. As he locks it in. And now, this is it. The sequence where it's all about the feet. He's trying to get a better positioning on that crimp. Matching again.
Another match. Looking relatively good, though.
Oh, snatching. Great strength from Colin.
And look at the hips. They're so far right. It's so hard to lean left.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. You could see he wasn't in the best position. But he's so good at perhaps getting himself into a place he wouldn't want to be, but somehow working out a solution for it.
Yeah. And that's one of the great traits of being a lead climber as well. Look at the power there in the shoulder, trying to lock him in. Unfortunately, his feet were not allowing for it.
Oh, and a mistake for him down low. And I think that's it for Colin. It is. So, still no tops for this boulder. Yoshiyuki Ogata, the final athlete, the only one who might unlock the sequence. Colin looking back at it, frustrated a little bit.
Yeah, I think he took a second to realize he only had 20 seconds. Likely wasn't going to do the whole boulder, but knew it was going to take a lot of energy if he tried to prepare himself potentially for the later climbs.
That was the move he got himself into. I mean, it's not a position you want to be in, and then had to come right the way under.
And brings that left hand down to go for the match. So impressive.
But look at that adjustment position. He worked it out, knew he wanted to match it. Look, 2 fingers, and it's this back 2 as well on that bottom hold.
Now, though, he's so uncomfortable on that left foot. He does bring it anywhere different to come in, lean across, and as soon as that left hand comes off, the tension goes.
So Colin leaves the stage, and Yoshiyuki Ogata is up next. Here he is, Yoshiyuki Ogata, the final athlete out on boulder number 2. And I wouldn't be betting against him in this moment.
Definitely not. He is in a very strong position. The scoring on these climbs are getting quite consistent, and he'll be very happy with his high qualification.
So there is our leaderboard down on the bottom left. Colin Duffy currently in the lead, followed by Kokoro Fujii and Yannick Flohé. Ogata, of course, down at the bottom because he hasn't tried this. It will change the second he gets that zone. So smearing, palming, kicks that right leg out to the left and then drops into the zone. Different sequences from Colin. Doesn't match that zone hold.
Very powerful. So, as we know, watch the feet.
Watch the feet. He heard you. So that was his first attempt at it, but look at the leaderboard. As I said, second he got that zone, it bumped him back up to first position. So that is the foot. That's the left that went. Sliding and smearing as he falls.
Yeah, so hard to make that stick in this high tension position.
Very different from Colin Duffy. I think he was trying to catch it, just got 2 fingers on. And I think that's because he was kind of falling as he came into the catch.
Yeah, very much. And he'll be taking some time, thinking, okay, I've come quite close. Let's fix that mistake and get to the top next go.
That was an iconic shot there. That sunset, him sitting in the spotlight with the crowd behind him, that gave me goosebumps. It really did. Look at that. That is, oh, that's incredible. Imagine being in his position with that many eyes on you. I mean, not just on the broadcast, but in the stadium. All the energy directed just at you. It's so exciting.
That is really, really quite poignant.
So Yoshiyuki Ogata has 2 minutes on the clock. Let's see what he can do here. Cross hands at the start. Into the heel hook. Gets the salad making another adjustment there on that hold. And reaching through and under. So far, so good from Yoshiyuki Ogata. 1 minute 38 on the clock. Oh, the left foot pops, but he holds it this time and then goes. Should he have reset with the feet?
I feel like he would have wanted to put that foot back on with the left foot off. He was actually open. His torso was twisted away from the wall. He thought, I'll try pull with my shoulder and reel all the way in. But he couldn't get that bend, that pull, that direction to the left that you need in order to create this sort of elevator door opening position.
It's worth mentioning that black logo that's on the volume, that has got friction as well. He's not standing on a different part of the wall. It's pretty much the same as the volume, isn't it?
It is bad everywhere.
Very true. So he's got time. Just under a minute now. Chalks up. No one figuring out the final part of this climb.
I think everyone's come quite close. I think everyone knows what to do, but actually carrying that out is so, so difficult. We're going to see whether or not it happens right now.
The thing is, even if he gets himself set on and swinging off, you can see, I mean, all the athletes have had this same process, that they start to get tired, as you can see, and then it just goes to pieces there at the end.
Yeah.
So the coach stops the camera that's filming them. They use that footage to analyse after the competition, work out what went wrong, what they could improve. So, Yoshiyuki Ogata goes. As we look at some of the holds and check the results. Well, he's still in the lead. Yoshiyuki Ogata, 1 top, 2 zones in 1 attempt. Colin Duffy, 2nd. And Kokoro Fujii in 3rd place. Yannick Flohé, Jongwon Chon, and Dohyun Lee finishing things off. So that's our leaderboard. Colin Duffy right behind Yoshiyuki Ogata. And let's see some of these moments. Jongwon Chon came close. First athlete out. That was the outrageous move, wasn't it?
Best part of everyone's attempts on the climb, by far. Do love to see something completely outrageous in a bouldering competition. But otherwise, very, very consistent climbing. You can see everyone's got this such power and tension in their first attempts, and they all got to the zone without much effort. but it does show how difficult these climbs are, as afterwards you can see things start to break apart and the climbs start to break through the climber's defense. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It looks like a bit of a, we talked about a learned movement. It looks like you want to put those palms on the two big yellow holes right beside the starting holes. There is always the option of getting a foot up there, but it's going to be so hard to generate enough momentum to get you all the way above that hole. So likely we'll think, okay, taking your palm, and then by the end I think we're going to see something quite exciting.
I think that's one of the smallest zone holes I've seen on a wall for a while. It's just really a thumb or a finger on that. So Jongwon Chon comes out onto the stage. Faces the audience first. He has to wait for the signal. Gets it now. And there is the start of the wall. The timer starts to tick him down as we get to see this first move from Jongwon Chon. So the spring at the start. So Jongwon Chon has just started M3, and he did it in a different way than the route setters thought they might.
I think he pulled on and you could see the hips ready to go, and I think at the last second he changed his mind and thought, oh, maybe we try it static. And it wasn't a bad try, to be honest. It looked like if he could get his right hip open a little bit more, he will mantle up and through. Now, whether or not he chooses to try this again or thinks, okay, let's at least have a go at the dynamic method, we're going to find out soon.
I was watching quite closely when they were reading these routes, and certainly one of the things that they didn't look like they were thinking about a jump. They were all kind of palming out left, thinking about that kind of a movement, and I think that's where their heads are at the moment. So Jongwon back again. Will he change things up?
Let's have a see. The sort of given advice is 3 attempts and then change it up. But it is a blaringly different beta.
Oh, there we go. Well, that's kind of what they wanted.
Exactly. And so, how obviously different that beta was, I think he said, okay, let's at least give it a go, because that's what I said originally.
So, Russia's doing a sterling job getting everything ready for the athletes. Let's watch that again. This jump out, right hand, left hand palm, but stopping yourself in that position. You have to be very precise with the palm.
Very precise with the palm. If it's in the wrong place, then you're going to come off. And actually, my favorite part about these types of climbs is you have to draw a line with your hips. And if they go too close or too far out from the wall, then you're going to come off. But you have to draw this line right from the initiation of the movement. So if you get the very start wrong, you're not going to be able to solve the second part.
So Jongwon has another look here. It'll be interesting to see if he continues with that. I think he is. He's practicing that palm down movement. You can see he just tapped that starting hold and then continued and went back to the static method, which looks better for him.
Maybe looks better as he's getting more climbing in. Keep an eye on the right hip. Can he open it enough to bring his body weight across?
That's the thing with the palm, is you're higher on the holds, aren't you, to start with? I don't know if that's helpful or not, but starting statically, he has to drop down really low and then rock all the way up.
Yeah, it's a completely different crux that he has to solve. And you could argue it is essentially a different boulder, but that is the beauty of climbing. You can solve different boulders in completely different ways.
Well, that's the first goal, the zone hold. Look how mini that thing is. He has got good feet when he gets to it, so it doesn't need to be the best hold.
No, it is just managing your position, and then as you go a bit further left, you will find a better hold.
I'm envisaging the camera shot. There's a thumb or something in that. Super slow, super tight, showing how crazy the moves are. So Jongwon looks like he's going to jump. Does. Oh, almost. That was better. And you can see immediately back on the wall because he knew he got closer then. Big spring, again closer. Needs to get the body weight a little bit more underneath himself.
That right shoulder's pulling him off, so he's trying to switch his palm in another direction. he's realized now there isn't enough time to really have a good go at learning this movement.
He's going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter. 7 seconds. That was closer. You could see the learning going on.
Yeah, exactly. You can see one of my favorite parts in climbing is the facial expressions that come out as you're learning. There's actually a lot of interesting neurochemistry going on. Big floods of dopamine coming through as you learn a new movement. And you can see it in their faces as they're attempting a climb.
Oh, there is that man's face, eyeing it up. Nice to see the next generation coming through, getting the shot. Great to see. Jongwon is just blowing off that excess chalk in his hands. And this was the move, and you could see it getting better and better. It's one of those, if he came back and did that a few more times, he'd lock it in. And as the route setter says, once you've got it, it kind of locks in, doesn't it?
It does lock in. I think I talked about this in a previous competition. The neurochemistry, your brain actually has this big flood of dopamine, and it stamps everything your brain was doing at that time. That cerebellum, that little movement brain at the back of your head, puts a big stamp and says, okay, do that again. And you see a big explosion in their face as well.
So, Dohyun Lee enters the arena once more. Boulder number 3. If you're just joining us, welcome to Innsbruck, Austria. This is the final World Cup boulder of the year for the IFSC. My name is Matt Groom, and I'm joined by Dan and Marky here in the commentary box, and we are watching all of the action here as Dohyun Lee launches to the left. Oh no, wow, oh, that's interesting. A bit of both, half static, half dynamic.
Very interesting angle there. It actually looked like he got that right palm on, and then created the upwards movement first. Very different, almost a little bit less of the unknowns.
Oh, and come on.
Does the foot method.
Come on.
I was hoping to see a foot go up there. He nearly managed to stick this tiny zone. He's basically putting his fingernails in behind it. So much explosion, yet so precise. He has to find that dead point at the right point. That was incredibly, incredibly impressive.
Now, look, we talked about that zone. It didn't matter that it was small because they have good feet. But using that method, the size of the hole does become important because you're aiming for something small and you've got to hold on to something really tiny.
Yeah. You are trying to kill a lot of momentum that you have just created. And the best way to kill it is by grabbing a hold and squeezing with the fingers. Now, the hold isn't big enough to take so much force.
Well, there you go, popping off it.
So what he's now trying to figure out is how can he jump exactly the right amount so there's as little as force as possible to stop when he grabs that handhold.
I'll be honest here, I don't think this is the right method, but I really want to see him do it again. Like, it's an awesome movement that he's pulling off.
Oh, yes, for sure. The right method is almost always an interpretation. The best description of the right method is the easiest method, and you could argue that the other method is easier. But if it is doable this way, then you're still getting a top.
Absolutely. But when is he going to change it up? He's going to go again, though, matching that hold, springs. Oh, and this time he was on longer. He's looking for purchase with that right foot, dragging it onto the wall with his toe.
Dragging it onto the wall. The key point is where you put the left foot. Incredibly difficult. You want it to be as far out as you can get it because that gives you more angle to lever your body into the wall. Unfortunately, if you put it far out, you're entering that high-risk territory where it could slip.
The fact that our close-up, the whole hand covers the hold. I mean, I don't really need to say anything. It says enough, doesn't it?
That is very, very
micro.
descriptive.
So Dohyun Lee with 1.5 minutes to go. Might want to think about changing things up here. He's not going to. Oh, and this time he makes it work. Okay, so Dohyun Lee is up and established. You heard the crowd. They know what they've just seen. I can't quite get my head around it. So Dohyun into the side pull. This is going to jump him way up the board if he can do it. It's not too hard, this, but you need to be precise, and he does get it. Huge moment for Dohyun Lee and his competition history. Awesome from him. I mean,
look at that explosion of emotion. So much psych there as he contained himself in these very, very small holds. And then the last move is so the route setters came to us and said it's scary, it's very, very scary, but he didn't give a second's thought. He just knew what he had to do and he committed fully to it.
Yeah, our wall is 4.5 meters up there at the top. That would have been the fall for him. But look, fingers locking off on that. You can see the battered scars on his hand from this competition. Launched left, and he didn't even match before he celebrated.
Knew he had it, and he was very, very happy.
Well, we'll wait to see where that's put him up on the scoreboard. Awesome from Dohyun Lee. I don't think anyone would have thought about that method. You saw it.
Yeah, I did believe in it.
So Dohyun jumping out. Yeah, you saw it. I did not read that method on that boulder.
It's always an option unless there is some quite advanced blocking or interesting whole design going on. You can always think, okay, maybe I can get a foot up there.
Well, exciting stuff here. Dohyun Lee, our second athlete out. We've still got 4 more to go on this boulder. And look at that.
So much intensity. And one of the things we noticed, the intensity is basically a representative of how hard the athlete is trying. You can see it slow down.
So Yannick Flohé is out onto the stage. Let's see what method he can do. Yannick Flohé will approach the wall. So there's a couple of ways through this now. We know we've got this, the Dohyun method. Oh, look, he's going to think, oh no, palming into it. So that's the sequence route set as thought.
Yeah, that's his first little, okay, what's going to go on? Figuring out. He might be thinking about the different options, the static beta. Here it is coming.
So crossing through with the palm. Oh, very slow.
Very powerful on that shoulder. Does have power to spare though, but being able, we saw with Jongwon Chon, he put the right palm, and this actually turned his body outwards, whereas you need your body in against the wall. We saw later on he started to switch the right palm the other way, so he was basically pushing his face into the wall when he did the movement. Maybe Yannick can figure it out with the palm turned, but maybe he'll have to change it up.
So there he is, launching left. Triceps standing out in his arms as he holds that movement for a second. 2 minutes 48 on the clock. And look, Dohyun Lee right at the top with those 2 tops and that zone. That is putting him in a great position.
He'd be very, very happy. And I'm wondering what he's going to say when he comes back and speaks to Jongwon Chon.
Yeah, the athletes aren't meant to communicate back there. Yannick Flohé keeps going towards the left on this move. It looks so awkward. It looks jarring on the shoulders, landing in that palm down place.
Yeah, very jarring. The hardest part is a strange movement where you kind of have to pull your shoulders back on your body. That's the only way you can create that force into the wall.
So he's looking to spring for the zone now, but using the left volume instead of the purple one.
Yeah. Now, the big factor is as he's trying new methods, he only has less than 2 minutes left. So he knows most methods he'll figure out after a few tries, but which one is he going to commit that time to?
Yeah, look, then he kind of changed his mind mid-air on that move. Tried to get the left foot in as well as the right palm. Let's watch again. I can see what he's trying, but I mean, he's sort of almost barn dooring off there in that position with that left foot up high.
Yeah, very much. And that left hand coming down to grab the other side of the volume. It looks like, though, can't quite tell from here. I believe there isn't texture there.
Oh, look, he actually missed the zone. That's interesting. We didn't really catch that from the non-slow-mo. So he might be tempted to try that again because he did fully miss it for the jump. And look, trying again, thumb underneath this time into a sort of thumb scragger.
Thumb scragger, very, very powerful position to hold. It looks like Dohyun Lee jumping his left foot to that first hold really puts him sort of, his feet, his center of gravity is above his feet. Yannick with the foot on the left means not directly above his feet, so he has to put so much more force through that zone hold in order to stay on.
I think I just made up a word there. I don't think scragger exists. I meant to say thumb scrag. You know what I mean.
I completely understood it though.
That's good. I'm glad someone does.
We need a new word.
So Yannick Flohé stops after 33 seconds. Lots of different methods for him. Didn't find one that fitted. And Yannick Flohé has quite a lot to do now coming into the 4th and final climb. He'll go and rest now. Let's see that again. That was the move, reach down with the left. And this is where he was always kind of going down. Never looked solid on that. And immediately, look at those eyes, laser guided back on the hold. And he almost wrote that method off. You could see his thought process.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out if he's in a body position where he can tense enough to hold on to the wall.
So Kokoro Fujii, a man with some spring in his body. What's he going to do here?
Yeah, very, very exciting to see. But as we found out, this is not about how much power, how hard you can pull through your arms. Essentially, this is about how well you can tell your hips to be in a certain place a few meters away from you.
So he does the root setters method straight away, the double palm. These athletes must be waiting, because although they don't know what the others have scored, they'll hear the crowd. And they'll know that Dohyun Lee managed to find something that no one else has yet to do. So the pressure kind of heaps up on them at that point.
Yep, certainly. And Dohyun Lee was behind by only one attempt, and now he's found himself at top while other athletes are only getting a zone. So he's jumping far up the scoreboard.
Yeah, he's left himself in a very good position. Puts the pressure on the others. So the DJ ramps things up a little bit here in the stadium. Our commentary box is shaking with it as the bass reverberates around. Kokoro Fujii, once again, just under 3 minutes remaining on this boulder. Getting closer.
Getting a bit of stick. You talked about this movement you saw in Moscow, the pulling on the slopers. You could argue it's a similar idea here. He has to get as much friction on his hand as possible and stop that movement. So he's pushing down on these slopey holds. And if you can generate enough friction with the hand, most of the athletes have the strength to pull their shoulders in, pull them into the wall.
So working the hands, right, left, onto the yellow sloper. So he looks up, just trying to figure it out. These are great shots we're seeing, because you can sort of hear the athletes' thoughts as their eyes flick around the boulder. Oh, he's getting closer and closer. Look, we talked about it earlier, but a learned movement. So the more the athletes do it, the more it gets into their body, the muscle memory starts to kick in, and they're expecting, once they've got it, that's it, that it's locked in.
Theoretically,
yes.
And it's all about error correction. Every time they go up, they'll make an attempt, they'll come off, and they'll think, okay, exactly what went wrong. That's the hardest part about it, figuring out the exact thing that went wrong, and then they have such an amazing skill set that they can find a way to solve that exact problem.
Yeah, and Kokoro Fujii, at 29, he's been on the circuit for a long time. He can build on that experience. He can use it all. Whereas you get someone like Dohyun Lee, although he did climb it at 19, more raw talent to rely on instead of experience.
And let's see, he's getting microseconds and microseconds more stick on these first holds. Is he going to figure it, the method he's trying, or is he going to decide to switch something up?
Well, this is it. He's left it a bit late to change things up now, and now he's thinking about it. He's thinking about a cross. Remember, it doesn't matter which order you hold those first holds, as long as you've got a limb on each indicated hold.
Now he switched that right palm, as most athletes realize, with that palm facing in towards them, their shoulders pushing them out. So to twist it, they can open the shoulders and get further in. He's a bit more stick.
Kokoro Fujii is going to have to. He's now going to launch for the zone, I think. He looked at it. I thought he was going to go, because he had a long look up before he got going. Going further out with the left.
Finding that movement, actually creating a lot of power with that right arm.
Oh, and bringing the heel into play.
Now you see that jump of maybe something.
And that's coming closer.
He's got only 4 seconds left.
He wants that zone. He wants the score, and that came close. So Kokoro Fujii down the order with that. Couldn't get it. Couldn't get the zone.
That is, without a doubt, one of the best climbers in the world for a long time now. And shows more how amazing Dohyun Lee's ability there to figure out that boulder was.
Getting usurped by the younger generation there is Kokoro Fujii. See, blowing the hole, trying to get the excess chalk off the sloper. Let's see which method this was. So the palms out, and then, yeah, that right heel, smart. You can see what he's thinking. It did almost work.
Yeah, get a lot of friction with that heel. Will have needed to have his hips more into the wall in order to make it stick, but it looked like there was a lot of potential there.
So Colin Duffy waits backstage and then enters the arena. It's a bit lighter than it looks in your shots. It's still easy to see. He's picked out by the spotlight. Charged atmosphere here at the Kletterzentrum in Innsbruck. So Colin Duffy begins M3. He's going to go static. He thinks better of it. That won't count as an attempt. Hasn't touched the ground.
There we got the learning going. So intensely cerebral. That is the amazing part about this sport. They're called problems, not climbs, because it's something you have to figure out. It's actually exceptionally mental.
What's so good is these athletes have 4 minutes, and we've basically watched them do the same move every time, and yet we haven't run out of things to say yet because there's so much going on in that one movement.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very interesting. You see such different takes on the movement. We're seeing palms, we're seeing heels coming out of nowhere, we're seeing just jumping straight up. There's so much going on here.
Check out that scoreboard. Yoshiyuki Ogata still in second place. Kokoro Fujii was left in 4th after failing to get that zone on 3. Dohyun Lee in first position. So Colin is getting closer to the zone.
This is the same method that Dohyun Lee used successfully. Now it's a question, is Colin going to keep trying this or try something else?
Well, you can see missed that hold. Remember, it's an explosive move into basically a 1-finger, 2-finger at most grab. Crimp on that. So, and that slow motion is a bit unkind because it makes it look like he's missing it by miles, and yet it's half a second, if that, of movement.
Yeah, but he had a pretty good go there. I think he'll be quite confident he can do it this way now.
Look at the pinky wrapping in underneath, almost stacking on top of the 2 fingers. Look, gets the 2, and then that pinky just coming into play underneath.
There we
Yes.
are. Look at that last little twist. You saw this left knee twist in, throw the hips into the right position. That was amazing.
So Colin Duffy, we know this move is doable from this point, but he's got to keep it together. Otherwise, they'll have to repeat that sequence again. 1 hold closer. Oh, he wants a swap hand. Yeah, that's better. So that's what the root setter's had, the right hand on it. And now he's got a launch left, and he'll take a very deep breath on this moment. There it is. Pings out on a big slip from Colin Duffy. Missed the foot as he went over.
He'll be upset with that. Thought he was done, but it's that breakdown of looking at 2 things at the same time. You saw him looking at the top. You have to know where you're going at the end of the movement. But that man, he missed the foot, which is the first point of contact he needs to make.
Look at that, his face pressed against the wall, and the second he knew he was on, his eyes flicked towards the left to see where he was going next.
I love this twist of the left knee, that last minute switch to pull the body weight in and stick the foot. That's so amazing to see.
So Colin Duffy jumps up to second place with that zone. If he can get a top, he might be in first. So swaps the hand, jumps it over. Now watch the feet, because he did mess this up a bit. Eyes it up, swings, this time makes it work, and Colin Duffy tops out. Huge fist bump from him at the top of the wall. We wait for the leaderboard to change, and there it is, confirmation as Colin Duffy in first position as he leaves the stadium, bumping Dohyun Lee down into second. Oh, what a boulder.
That was very exciting, and you did prove true that hypothesis of once he does it once, he has it locked in.
It's true.
He did it second time without a bother.
It was there in his body, in his brain. I was worried that he wouldn't be able to get it a second time, but he did. And look at that face positioning.
See the hips pushing left just to get that center of gravity in exactly the right position. That little minute movement is actually so impressive.
You can see looking down at his fingers, and then this was the jump. springs out.
See the eyes, still looking at the foot and then up to the top.
Full commitment from him there as he launches over. And look at this fist pump. So he comes up. Great top from him. Colin Duffy on the top of the wall, fist bumping to the audience. And there he is, framed as the strobes flash on him. So Yoshiyuki Ogata, the last athlete out, and he can still change this leaderboard.
Yeah, he'll definitely be wanting to. Now what we've seen is, I would say, the younger athletes solving this very, very cerebral problem. And now we're wondering, Yoshiyuki Ogata not in the same age group as those athletes, but quite well known for being able to solve these dynamic movements.
So, as we've seen, he starts with the double palm. The process begins again. 3.5 minutes on the clock here in Innsbruck. Once more into the palm.
Getting a lot of stick there. I think he'll be trying this a few more times as he seems quite confident on it. We haven't seen anyone do it yet, though, so big question mark still.
Well, this is it. I mean, we know this is the way the roots setters would have practiced it. This is the way they've tried it. This is the way they think it should be done. The athletes just, it's straight away. Now that's different again.
So right foot there. I think because he's jumping from the left foot, whereas the other athletes actually swap their foot for that movement. But
I think that looks very awkward. The reason is you're always out of balance coming up with that. But, I mean, it's coming close, but the thing with the left foot is you're just a bit better set for that zone hold.
Yeah, so again, same problem with the right palm facing in. That's opening your body out. And with the right foot, your actually hips are all the way out. Now we swap the feet so we go up with the left. And that is the little solution the other climbers use. Look, little rush, learning's happening.
You always see it, don't you? When they think they've got it, it's straight to the chalk bag, straight to the brush.
It's so cool to watch. I really, really like it.
So he reckons he might have this. Yoshiyuki Ogata, a couple of minutes left. He's got time. This time he does. Look and then
that.
down.
Just not quite right, but he walked up on that hold and then took a second to find the volume, to find the zone.
What a fight for first position this is proving to be. Like, he had the balancing point. Oh no, he was always going back, wasn't he?
Not quite the balancing point, but very, very close. I won't be surprised if he finds it in the next 1 or 2 attempts.
Well, now the pressure starts to play in because he knows the sequence. A minute 40 on the clock. The DJ is ramping up the tension. The crowd is too. Almost right foot sliding down on the dual text, the no-tex surface, as someone pointed out to me it should be called.
Yeah, dual tex is the sort of historical term because there was never an issue about touching the non-textured
Yeah, you wouldn't
part.
want to normally, would you?
Yeah, it just didn't happen, and now we are seeing it happen often.
I think I like no-tex.
Look
so he's up.
at that, the precision. He was up there, didn't need to pull hard in his own, he just had it.
Now, will he hand swap? You could do it with the left. No, he decides to go to the right. And now the nerves will be kicking off for him. Leaps, gets it, and watch the leaderboard. Great effort from Yoshiyuki Ogata. We wait for things to change, the confirmation. And that is our crowd as he leaves the arena. Just waiting for things to be updated.
So Yoshiyuki looks like he's in 3rd place now because of the number of attempts. It took him 9 attempts on that boulder. Dohyun Lee did it in 8 attempts, and then Colin Duffy, with his amazing ability, did it in 6.
So, our leaderboard at the very top doesn't change. That was the hold he's going to. The finger, almost side-pulling that hold with his finger. He had to get himself set up and ready. And this was the jump over to the left. Awesome from him.
That is definitely his bread and butter. He would have been very confident there.
Yeah, you could see. He just took a breath, looked down at the hold all along, sprung, went up. Awesome from him. final hold, proving to be pretty good to go to. You got to commit to it fully though, and he did. All of them have done. Flying across at the height, very top of our wall.
A lot of psych from every climber who's found the top of that climb. It is a big challenge they've overcome. They're quite happy with it.
Well, let's have a look at the results. Colin Duffy, heroics from him in first position. Dohyun Lee in second, and that man we just saw him, Yoshiyuki Ogata, in third position. Kokoro Fujii, Yannick Flohé, and Jongwon Chon finish things off. Right, 3 boulders done. Colin Duffy on top. It's an exciting finals, this.
Very exciting. Essentially, the scores look to be decided by one boulder so far, and it's very possible we're going to see a big mix-up in that leaderboard, because the next boulder couldn't be more different from that boulder we just watched.
Absolutely, totally different style coming up as we watch the slow motion of the athletes. That man, Colin Duffy, right at the top of the leaderboard, looking for gold.
Currently, Dohyun Lee and Yoshiyuki Ogata are separated by one zone. So every attempt, even on the first part of this climb, is going to be vital for their positions.
Now, both Dohyun Lee and Colin Duffy haven't had any podiums this year. So they're in this position now where they could break that and possibly walk away with the gold here on the final comp of the year. And it's all about this boulder. This beast of a thing, yellow and blue, smeared across the wall, left to right. Darren, talk us through this.
Well, we're going to find out if climbers want to start facing in or facing out. And then right from the start, you're going big jump to this first hold. Don't think anyone's going to do it static. I don't think they need to. And then almost an iron cross through to the next, and then one of those 360s coming under the zone, and then you're into the power piece, this big yellow macro. You've got to match with both hands, figure your way to the top.
Well, if you're just joining us, welcome back as Jongwon Chon comes onto the stage, the first athlete on the final boulder, and a smile has been plastered on his face all evening.
Such a great athlete to watch. So much energy, so much emotion, and so much positivity. I've spoken to him a few times after, and it is just a delight.
So Jongwon Chon gets going. And this is the first time we get to see this popping onto that yellow pocket and then adjusting in midair.
Yeah, bounce. They have so much experience here. They get a good hold, they can do almost anything they want with it.
And then this is the spectacular move the route setters had planned and hoped for, into the zone. No feet, spinning around.
Biceps for days here.
So he's trying to work his way, but the feet start to get pretty slopey. I mean, at least you have feet at this point. He didn't have any before. Slapping up into the sloper. Matches underneath. Eyeing up the crimp as he crosses through. And launches to the top. Matches. Awesome from Jongwon Chon. What a moment from him, finishing things off in style.
What an absolute moment. You could tell how badly he wanted it, but how happy he was. And the fact that he just hung from the top and took a second to himself to appreciate the moment that he just had. That was amazing to watch. And very exciting. Athletes are split by one boulder, so this could really shake up the competition.
That's all to play for here on the final boulder. And Jongwon Chon will now get to sit and watch the others as they attempt this too. Look at the effort from his face as he matches onto his fingers. High feet, looking between his legs as he spots the next hold, teeth gritted.
This is the one-arm lock-off. There we see it. Absolute power through that arm.
This is such a good competition. And look, he missed it the first time, and he had to reset the one-arm lock.
It's a one-arm pull-up, but over almost a meter away from where you're holding on to, and you're just going for this 3-finger pocket. So impressive.
And losing his right foot on the final hold. He didn't even bother to match. He just enjoyed, as you said, that moment, his shadow on the wall. Jongwon Chon, relief, euphoria, what else is going on in his head? It doesn't matter, it's a top for that man.
What an amazing performance from this athlete. What an amazing thing to see.
Well, try to calm ourselves down here in the commentary box as we've got 5 more athletes out on this boulder. Great effort from Jongwon Chon. So he now gets to go and watch the rest of the competitors. He'll be on the side of the stage checking things out. And Dohyun Lee, well, he's got a real chance here. Although he's being held back by the judge. We just wait. There's the thumbs up. Off you go. So Dohyun Lee could make a play here for that gold medal. So many new winners this year. It'd be great to see another fresh face on that podium.
Very, very exciting, especially the story behind this athlete and his connection to the athlete that just went.
So, presses up. Big jump out sideways.
Looks like not a bother, but you are jumping to a very precise pocket.
Just look at the ability to reset when you miss it. I mean, look, again, look, resetting, not managing to pull it back that time.
Fortunately, it looked like his fingers destabilized in that other pocket. He went with a lot more momentum than Jongwon Chon, which is something that an athlete might choose to do if they're thinking they maybe don't have the power to do this outrageous 1-arm pull-up. So go with the momentum, but that means when you swing out and swing back, it looked like his fingers destabilized a bit and came off.
So, Dohyun Lee is down in 3rd. Jongwon Chon jumped up to 1st position. Of course, all the athletes have yet to climb, so that might change. But if no one does it, Jongwon Chon's winning a World Cup. So, pressing up. That jump, it's blind into that pocket.
Yeah. There's lots of different tactics in terms of visualizing it in the space, but we're jumping to a pocket you can't see.
So Dohyun Lee gets set, kicking up to try to get a bit of momentum, and it worked.
Does find it.
So that's 3 fingers in the pocket. Now needs to do the same thing again, find the momentum, because every time he stops, he loses it. But it's very climbable from this position as he presses into the yellow sloper.
Dohyun Lee now one of the few athletes with 2 tops before. Put him in a very good position if he does get to the top here.
He's got just under 2 minutes to get this done. This was the swinging. Trying to create that momentum. That's the first blind jump.
Do you see, actually, the hand got the bad part and corrected to the good part. So interesting.
That thumb on the friction. Matched again. I mean, stacking your fingers up is going to be painful. That's not what you care in that moment, but it would hurt, that move. Swinging. And then the second he got in there, he just breathed, pressing in. But watch his feet.
Yeah, this is a very high tension position, so much power required, and we've seen the athletes slipping off on bad foothold as they're trying to pull so hard with the arms. It is a question now of who still has the energy left to do these moves.
So he leaps again, making that blind jump look easier and easier. He'll have got the distance locked in. Iron cross, the swing to face the audience.
Wow, very well learned there.
So this is where Dohyun, I don't know what happened. He just maybe lost focus. I don't know, but that right sloper got in this time. Matches with the feet, and it's that foot movement that's sending him down.
Foot movement, it looked like he put his hand in his head. Something just broke down in the movement there, because I think he thinks he has the strength to do it right now and needs to make it happen.
Look at that, knuckles blooded and bruised from his efforts on the wall. These athletes walk away from all of these comps so scarred and bruised and battered.
It's always funny when the best hold on the wall at that time is your own hand.
Yes, it's very true. Question your life decisions at that point. So, swinging backwards, he goes again, 19 seconds, he's got to be really quick here, time is ticking. Iron cross, swing to face the audience, locks in, 12 seconds, 10. He'll be facing the clock at this moment, he knows what he's got to do. I don't think it's going to be enough time, 6, 5, it's counting him down, and that is the end of Dohyun Lee's final. But he is in first position with that zone.
It'll be a question of the number of attempts that it took him to get there, which is going to leave him quite excited. as he sits down with his brother and gets to watch the last of the competition.
2 fingers in it. Oh, look, he did that swing of 2 fingers. Come on.
He needs the third.
He needs the third. It barely fits anyway. So Dohyun Lee sitting in the hot spot. He's on the sofas on the side of the stage watching on. Let's take a breath here. Coming down, look, eyes locked on the hold all the way down. So Dohyun Lee, his night is done, and now it's in the hands of the other athletes.
These are the intermediate leaders, but that's the guy who can make a second at the top.
There's a lot of brushes out on stage, and they're cleaning off a bit of that blood that we saw out on the judges pointing, and that's why there's a little delay here for Yannick Flohé. There's a judge just making sure all that blood is cleaned off that we saw on the slow motion. That's the judge going back to the edge of the stage. And Yannick Flohé almost cleared to climb. His time won't start until they tell him, so he's not missing out here. And there it is, we're underway. So, Yannick Flohé. I mean, look, in no way has this been a disappointing final for him, but he hasn't been quite as spectacular as we saw in Brixton.
Yeah, I think it is a question of style in Brixton. The style of the setting really, really suited him. Now, as I say that...
And he falls off
As
the first
I
line.
say
Commentator's curse, my friend.
I was about to say, I think he's going to be quite happy with the style that he's looking at in front of him, if he can figure out how to get up to that first hold.
Yannick spent a long time facing outwards when he read the boulder, and he thought about it then for a second. He might think about it again, because he was the one standing there facing the audience when they were observing the route.
Now, it looks like he's decided to go with that face-on method. Maybe as soon as you step off the ground, you're thinking something else, but can he figure out this first move?
Went above it that time, so he's got the distance.
Both the Korean athletes made it look so easy.
They really did, didn't they? So dynamic. So Yannick Flohé has the distance now. He just needs to get the precision. Can't see it, remember. Goes with the right hand, trying different things.
Yeah, this will definitely be messing with his mentality now. Last boulder of the day. Feel that podium place slipping away. But that's where he needs to compose and make it happen.
So he's got the left hand locked in, comes out, swinging with the fingers. And now these are the kind of moves that are pretty familiar to him, and look how controlled he is with that movement.
So very familiar. 2 fingers, don't need a third.
But he needs to get some feet on the wall here at some point. And he's kicking to try to drive himself towards it, and he misses the side pull.
Yeah, so the other athletes actually went and put their foot out first there, and that seemed to be the better solution. Yannick now tried to commit to going into the crimp, but wasn't quite the method.
This was the movement through, up on top of it, and falls down into the pocket, which is a good hold.
Yeah, we did talk about how big a difference blocking can make. That's the exact example of you can reach all the way over the hold, but if it's in the general right area, you'll come back down to it.
So 1 minute 40 on the clock. Yannick Flohé is currently down at the bottom of the leaderboard. So the crowd get behind this man. Got that first top so quickly and then struggled since then to connect everything. This move is just, I mean, it's like on monkey bars for him, isn't it? It's like you're in your local park swinging around.
He's very comfortable right now.
This time finds the foot out to the sloper. We know it's droppable from this point though. Matches underneath into the crimp, and this move should be good for Yannick Flohé. He's good at it. Gets high using the heel, swings, and that is his second top of the competition. And that's really helped to score up into 4th place, outside of the top 3, so it won't be a medal for him, but strong finish to his competition.
Yeah, strong finish. He got that top hold. He got to show the strength and ability he has on these types of climbs. So be happy enough with that.
Yeah, he used the palm there to stop himself. It's another shot of that first hold, which, although it's good, you have to jump horizontal out.
It's funny to see this hand go up and fall back down, and then to think, oh, there's a whole body in the air, not
true.
touching the ground underneath that hand.
Very true. And he just seemed to change something on this send attempt. It just suddenly looked easy for him.
A lot about positioning. Very much rotation is important here when you're in these pockets. If you rotate too much, it'll drag the fingers and start to pull you out. So very much, as we talked about before, you have to make sure your hips are in the right position as well.
So up to the top he goes. And that was his last hold. A bit of relief on his face there. He would have wanted to have finished strong. Fourth place is a good result if he manages to stay there. But we've got a few more coming. Waves to the crowd. So Kokoro Fujii, here he comes. What can he do? Out to the crowd to give him a big round of applause. And again, I mean, this is a boulder that if I could put an athlete, if I could fit athletes to boulders, I'd probably put Kokoro Fujii in this category of boulder.
Yeah. This big journey, big moves, big holds. I think he's got it in him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's down at the bottom, so he'll need some zones and tops, ideally, to jump him up. We'll keep an eye on the score as well. So, facing out for the first time. He's thinking about it at least. Now, this is going to be interesting. The problem is once you're facing out, you've got to then jump almost backwards as you rotate. It's super awkward.
Yeah, it's an extra variable in the system that you do not really want.
Looks good, but the spin will be hard, and I think he's going to immediately change it up, which he does.
He is definitely one of the bigger athletes, so it's a bit more difficult to fit in this starting box position, but looks like he's going to figure it out.
Yeah, kicking backwards, easy once he flipped himself. Jumps his hands over, and then he'll kick out right, which he does. Fingers deep in the pocket, locks off that right arm, and then swings under. Almost did it in one movement, stopped. Changed it up. Hanging on. Look at that. That's the slow motion climbing that I just love watching him do. It looks like we just slowed the camera down there.
Yeah, it's so nice, and it's just a show of the control he currently has, choosing to go more statically so that he doesn't introduce this risk into the movement.
Left toe out. Interesting. He's tall, as you said. Manages to make that. Holds the barn door. And now looking to bring a heel into play. One move away for Kokoro Fujii. Right hand on it. He needs the match, and he's going to get it. And the boulder, number 4, goes down for Kokoro Fujii, and that bumps him right up into bronze position at the moment. So he's sitting in a medal place. Waves to the crowd.
So, as it happens, it seems like we've got 2 athletes left, but they could really upset the system. The first 3 athletes only have 2 tops, whereas the next 2 already do. So a third top will put them right to the first place.
Right, so everything can change here. We watch Kokoro Fujii. This is the move that, I mean, look, we're in slow motion now, but there's almost no need because he was in slow motion when he did this.
And that is so interesting. He does lock the arm off, but then the actual control comes from rotating the shoulder. Not exactly something you think about when you're in the gym.
Awesome for Kokoro Fujii. Slow motion all the way through.
That means that Dohyun Lee will get his first
Awesome, and into the crimp.
in the IFSC World Cup climbing.
A little bit of a moment here as he makes sure that there's no mistake grabbing that last hold. That would be the last thing he would ever want. And then, yes, matching the top and calling it a day.
Awesome from Kokoro Fujii there, and that is his coach's reaction to it. Brilliant from him. Proud of their man. So 2 athletes to go.
2 athletes to go, and the next one out, Colin Duffy, looking like potentially the favorite. He does have less attempts to top than Yoshiyuki Ogata, so he will be at an advantage right now in terms of finding first place.
So the athletes wait on the side. Just rehydrating there as they wait. Yannick Flohé with a big puff out of his cheeks. He's tired. Colin Duffy enters the stage. What can this man do to our leaderboard? We know it's very climbable, this boulder. So he just has another look. It's been a long time since he saw it. And although it is long, there's few movements and it's fairly easy to read it. It's just about power and this jump. How quickly can he lock it in? 4th place at the moment. Up, misses the edge of it, too low.
Just a bit too low. Looked like he matched the first hold. He could lean back and try to visualize where it was, but didn't have. He could probably only see the bottom edge of that yellow hold and didn't quite visualize where the pocket was, how far up that was. You saw him walk back and jump to make sure, okay, the pocket is 10 centimeters up from the bottom, and he made use of that information.
Yeah, corrected immediately there. Chalks up straight away. And now Colin Duffy starts his swing, adjusting on coming out. And look, they all want to do it in one, but power required for that.
As he controls the swing with just one arm.
And again, back to the arm, always locked off. Now he straightens it, kicks with the feet to get him in, locks it, and then gets the side pull. A bump out to the sloper now for Colin Duffy, in the left hand fired off again. And you can see the reaction from him. He knows he's got to climb this thing fast, and he was right in there on the final sequence. Watch those left fingers. He adjusted once, looked back at his hand, and that's when it fired off.
That's the second time tonight, and you can see that yell, that disruption. It's actually, you can always tell if the joint, the hand, fires off very quickly, then it's not a problem of his strength. It's a breakdown in the friction that was happening right there, because his muscles were all tensing so much, so when they explode out, they weren't tensing any more or less than the second before, and it was the friction that went.
So Colin Duffy has to have a rethink here. He came close. He's got 2 minutes. Let's hope he's got something left in the tank as he sets himself up again for this jump. Into the left pinch. Nerves afraid here in the audience. Matches beautifully this time. Has that perfectly. And now this is it. He'll probably stop. He tried to do it in a one of the first time. Similar sequence. Drops that, chalks up mid-swing.
Has to. It's the only way to look as amazing as you possibly can.
Showboated for us. Right, he won't want another dry fire though. Bumps the left hand. It'll be in his mind. He looks back at that hold, hoping it doesn't pop on him. Left foot. Oh, and there's a left foot. He is in first.
There's little pops, but every attempt right now is creeping him closer to the number of attempts Yoshiyuki Ogata has, and that is putting Yoshiyuki in a very good place to get first if he can get up this boulder quickly.
Yeah, Yoshiyuki will be waiting backstage. You'll hear the audience cheering. He won't know. But yeah, Colin Duffy needs to get this done to put the pressure on Yoshiyuki Ogata. He goes again, 50 seconds. Oh, falls on that start hold. Needs to go quick now, 45 on the clock. Can Colin keep it together? Almost misses, but doesn't. Bumps the left hand, 36 seconds. Now he swings, same sequence is exactly the same. Chalks up, makes sure he's got it, locks it off, matches, and kick off with the legs. Drives his right foot into the sloping hold. Pumps out. Now we've seen a left hand pop, we've seen a left foot pop. Can he keep it together this time? There's that offending left, better from him. Drops in.
Close.
He's going to go to the crimp. There is the top in sight. Colin Duffy, this could be a play for the gold. Out with the right hand, just needs to match with 8 seconds to go. Does in slow motion to keep us hanging. Colin Duffy with 5 seconds on the clock, finishes things off. And now the pressure is put on Yoshiyuki Ogata.
It looks like Yoshiyuki has to do this climb in less than 2 attempts if he wants first place. Don't quote me on that, but it is looking like Yoshiyuki Ogata has a lot of pressure right now.
Right, all to play for. Colin Duffy waits. This was his send, and it was amazing how he did the same movements throughout the boulder.
So amazing, and I love this as he goes out to the iron cross. Coming through, he chalks up, and he intentionally does that because of the fire he made out of the pocket before. So he's correcting for this mistake. He's making sure, I'm going to chalk up now so that this fire isn't going to happen again.
Yeah, awesome sequences there. So, Colin Duffy climbs himself into a good position. All to play for as our final athlete faces the final boulder. We are close to the climax of this evening's entertainment, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've been enjoying it. We certainly have here. And that was the reaction for the athletes watching. Okay, here we go. Innsbruck is ready. Look at the camera phones light up the arena as they wait for Yoshiyuki Ogata. DJ senses the mood. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in a competition.
It's an outrageous series of events, and I wonder how many people are going to be on the edge of their seats right now. Not only the audience, but imagine the Japanese and American teams are just about keeping it together.
Oh, this is spine tingling. So Yoshiyuki Ogata comes out, looks at the clock, and his 4 minutes begins. Can this man walk away with the gold here tonight? What's crazy, he's currently sitting in 6th. So he needs to top in 1 attempt according to that statistic. So it's all to play for on this. Can he go from 6th to 1st? Here we go, facing out. Oh, this could be vital, because we know this is probably the hardest way to do this move. Oh, it was close. So that could be the end of the gold here at this moment. And look, Colin senses that as well.
Everyone is looking around wondering, is that it? Is it official? Has it happened? We need confirmation. Will appeals come through? What's going to happen?
He's facing out again. Route reading being the key here tonight, and makes it second go. So Yoshiyuki begins going right, matches in. Look at that, so smooth from him. Oh, if this works out the way I think it is, he's going to be devastated at the end of this comp. Oh, but he falls. But look at that change in the leaderboard into 3rd position for Yoshiyuki Ogata. And Colin Haley realizes what's happened here. He has just got his gold medal, and he's getting handshakes all round. That is your gold medalist.
He is. He doesn't know what to do, standing up. Very, very happy climber.
I mean, that's fair play to that man, because immediately started shouting encouragement.
I think he's only now really realizing. I don't think it's set in yet.
It hasn't, and he doesn't want to give it away to Ogata as well on stage. Yoshiyuki, we're watching here a man climb. He's still in 3rd. Right, here we go again, facing in, making that trickier method work. Out he goes into an iron cross.
So casual through that movement.
Locks in. So he comes out now, matching the horrible pocket. Out he comes into the slope at feet out right. Matches underneath. There's the crimp. 1 move away for Yoshiyuki Ogata. Oh, but he loses the left
Another
foot.
slip. Now he will want that 2nd position, and if he does not get to the top of this boulder, he won't have it.
So Yoshiyuki Ogata in 3rd. And yeah, it was just a full slip there with the right foot, I think. What a competition this has been. Coming up to 9:30 at night here in Innsbruck. And that's the signal we know for the brush. He's got about 1 minute on the clock now. There was the beeps. Breathing heavily as he looks up at the wall, eyes darting around as he tries to figure out the sequences. What can he change? What can he adjust to make this happen? So the crowd are asked to make some noise, and I'm sure they'll oblige as Yoshiyuki Ogata, once again with 38 seconds on the clock, gets going. That move, so much control and power needed for that. Thumb tucked underneath. And spirals his legs as he locks it in on the right. Into the sloper. In ease, and again a foot slip for Yoshiyuki. And 18 seconds, that might be it. He's not going to want to give up, but I don't think he's got time, and he is finished. And therefore, your man, Colin Duffy, will take the gold medal. Yoshiyuki Ogata will just wait for the confirmation. It should be in bronze.
Just that breakdown. I don't think he'll be happy with that, but...
And Dohyun Lee in 2nd position for him, his 1st podium, Colin's 1st podium of the year, and a gold medal. I thought he was in form, but I didn't know he was being that good there tonight.
Yeah, big switch up in the results today. showing that sort of younger generation, their skill set different to the other ones. Colin there, he's still trying to acknowledge what's just
Look, he's
happening.
looking at the leaderboard, just kind of trying to make sure that that's the case. So that was Yoshiyuki Ogata failing to get the gold. He could have done it if he had sent it quick. At the moment he faced out from the audience, my heart just dropped because I knew that was the harder way to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And Colin Duffy, there he is on the right-hand side of your screen, your gold medalist here tonight. And the crowd appreciated every second of that as he stands up tall. Awesome from him. He'll wait. So, Colin Duffy takes the win here, and we'll be with you very soon.
Jongwon Chon, der hat das letzte noch nicht mehr ganz gerettet, dem hat der Zone gefehlt.
So let's have a look at our scoreboard, the confirmation. Colin Duffy, 3 tops and 1 zone for victory here tonight in Innsbruck. Dohyun Lee, 2nd place, 2 tops, 2 zones for him. And Yoshiyuki Ogata, 2 tops and 2 zones as well, coming down, well, the same score basically, look at that. So count back, deciding that position. Awesome. From all the men out there today, Kokoro Fujii in 5th and Yannick Flohé has to settle for 6th. Any other day, any of those athletes could have taken victory here tonight. Wonderful stuff here under the Innsbruck night sky. Dannon's gone down to interview Colin, or we will be after the flower ceremony. Let me just remind you of the schedule. We all take a deep breath after all of that action. In the next couple of days, tomorrow we have the Boulder semi-final, 1 p.m. Central European time. Boulder final for the women, 7:30 Central European time. And then Saturday we have the lead qualification. And then the lead semi-finals in the evening. Lead finals on Sunday. Let's check out some of the action that we witnessed here this evening. What moments of drama out on the stage here tonight. All of our athletes giving it everything. That was the final boulder that we saw here tonight. And it did come down to that final boulder. So we're about to see the flower ceremony out on the stage. First chance for Colin to receive an accolade for his performance here tonight. The actual podium will come later. For our ceremony, as it sounds, flowers are awarded. Absolutely awesome to see. There's our lead wall on the left. That'll be in action from Saturday.
Das Boulder-Finale der Frauen, dann gleiche Uhrzeit wie heute, 19:30 Uhr. Abendkasse gibt es leider keine, weil es ist komplett ausverkauft.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what an end to our competition. Colin Duffy taking victory. Dohyun Lee, 2nd place. And Yoshiyuki Ogata in 3rd. A fantastic spectacle we all saw. We will be back and we'll see you soon for more IFSC action from Innsbruck, the heart of climbing here in the middle of Europe, and that man, Colin Duffy, will walk away with a medal here tonight. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we will be back very soon.
Komischerweise haben wir einen ganz anderen Gesichtsausdruck als sonst. Man vernimmt den Ansatz eines mehr als nur großen Schmunzels. Colin Duffy, er hat hier in Innsbruck begonnen, seine Geschichte zu schreiben. Also Jugendweltmeister geworden, auf einem Podest, das war so groß.
So, Colin Duffy with the victory. Let's see some of his moments from this competition. That's how much it meant to him. And you saw Brooke Rabatou and Natalia Grossman down in the audience wiping away tears. They'll be in action tomorrow. Colin Duffy, just fantastic out there. Pleasure to watch him climb here this evening. He's a quiet man, keeps himself to himself, very focused. And we'll be hearing from him in a couple of seconds. We just wait for everything to get set up. Colin Duffy will be speaking to the world in a minute, telling everyone about his experiences. There he is, down at the front. That's Josh Larson, his coach. Brooke Rabatou, Natalia Grossman, and Brooke Rabatou's mum there, high-fiving Team USA. And they have started to build something pretty special of Team USA. They have some very, very talented athletes under their wing. So the crowd standing in our stadium really enjoyed that spectacle, as did you at home, as did I, and Dan here in the commentary box. I'm not sure we're going to get an interview here. Seems to be a bit of difficulty getting it all sorted, so not sure. I think we're going to reset for the podium instead. They might have lost Colin Duffy. I think that could be the problem. He's certainly in the crowd. I can see Dan and Dan on the stage waiting, but I think they're going to reset for the podium instead. So we'll hear from him at another point, perhaps. Colin Duffy will be able to get stood up high, get his gold medal. His first podium of the year, and what a way to kick off your first podium. Last comp, first podium, first gold of the year. Colin Duffy's name is mentioned a lot when you talk about the upcoming Olympics in 2024 in Paris, and that is the reason why. He's certainly a contender for that. Right, let's hear from Colin Duffy. We've managed to find him. Let's hear what he has to say about that win.
Colin, it looked like it took you so long to realize that you'd won. What was that moment when you were sitting there looking around at the scores?
I looked at the attempts and realized that if Yoshi had flashed the boulder, I believe he would have won.
One second. Colin, it took you quite a while to realize that you seem to have won the competition. You were staring around in disbelief. What was that moment like for you?
I think I was counting the attempts in my head. You thought that if Yoshi had flashed, I believe he would have won. And then as he had taken a few attempts on the first move, I started to realize that I had won the competition. And I was in shock.
It finally came to you.
I still am in shock.
Still in shock, of course. And then you went down and spoke to your teammates. How important are they to you in this victory?
I wouldn't be here without the rest of the U.S. team athletes. The support and just camaraderie that I share with the team is like a key part of these World Cup experiences, and I'm glad that they were here to cheer me on and support me to the gold medal.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was your winner, Colin Duffy. It's his first Boulder gold in a World Cup. Awesome from him. Now, we get ready for the podium, which will be set up on stage. Colin Duffy, great from him. Really good to see. Meant a lot, clearly. All that effort from Team USA. And yeah, I said Team USA were building something. I remember when Josh took over that competition. Sorry, they took over the team. It's just come leaps and bounds. I mean, Natalia Grossman, who we'll see in action tomorrow, is, especially with the absence of Yanni, it wins absolutely everything. I'm looking at a fairly sad-looking Jongwon Chon. He could have walked away with the win. So many of them could have walked away with victory here tonight. And I'll be thinking about what could have been, what should have been, perhaps. They should be proud of everything that they achieved tonight because they gave us this wonderful final. I knew, looking at those boulders, that we were in for something special here tonight. And everyone played their part to make it so. There is Jongwon Chon walking up. Collecting his bag. Sadly, no podium for him. So, Dannon, you've come and joined me back in the commentary box. I know there was a bit of a mix-up. I think I ever lost Colin there for a second. But
a big bit of a mix-up. He went straight to his team.
Yeah.
Just needed something to almost grab onto. And standing right beside him, there was such an energy, such a buzz. It was really amazing. And yes, I've been speaking with Colin a lot throughout this competition. And then to finally see this come together and realize he's so happy right now.
Yeah, it is exciting stuff, and he absolutely deserved that. Brilliant from him, and thanks to everyone watching back at home and in the stadium, of course, and around the world. Felt like something very special we witnessed here tonight. Certainly for me, that was one of the best men's final in my memory that I can remember.
Yeah, that was a very special competition. Very unique in the movements and styles that we saw, and some outrageous moments as well.
Well, let's enjoy some of Colin's efforts up there on the wall. Right, let's have the awards ceremony now. It's all set up and ready on the stage. The medals are there, the podium is there, and the athletes, I presume, are somewhere waiting.
There's a bit of a riot down there. Everyone's mobbing around trying to get to the athletes.
Microphones everywhere, cameras, it's all go. I think he'll be signing a fair few autographs after that performance. Well, here we go. The athletes are being called to the stage.
The gold.
And the gold will be given
To all of you, welcome to the medal ceremony of IFSC Climbing World
the
Cup.
announcer calling it out.
2022.
A pomp and ceremony here. Always nice to see at the end of an event like this.
Our medalists.
And here they are,
And
the top
our
three.
Distinguished guests, rewarders,
Distinguished guests indeed.
entering.
A few dignitaries here tonight from the climbing world. Colin Duffy in the middle, a place he hasn't been in a World Cup before.
I
I wonder if it's really going to kick in yet. I actually, as I spoke to him, I had the feeling he still didn't really believe me.
He looked up at the leaderboard so many times just to check, didn't he?
Yeah, and there was his face half lit up, and then it stopped as if he was like, maybe not though, maybe not.
Handed over by the IFSC Vice President, Kominata Toru.
Our dignitaries are ready, our athletes are ready.
And now,
Everyone's
ladies and
standing in
gentlemen,
the same position.
they all deserve it. What a great competition here.
So the flowers are there on the left.
And bronze
The
medalists.
medals are laid out
Reaching
underneath.
2 tops and 4 song holds this evening.
So here we go. Yoshiyuki Ogata could have won it on that final boulder if he had flashed. He didn't manage it, but he has got the bronze medal. And great from him. The medal will be hung around his neck. Good to see.
Yoshiyuki Ogata.
So Team Japan get another medal. They've got a few now for their trophy cabinet along the years.
Look
at his fingers there, maybe a bit of blood spotted. Dohyun Lee. Wow, what a future that man has ahead of him. Just 19 and silver medal already.
Silver medalist.
Very cool to see, and the story behind it really interesting.
For the very first time in his life. Congratulations,
Parents actually teaching one of the other world's best athletes, now getting to find that position himself.
So keeping his emotions, you can see him, I think, breathing really heavily. That means a lot to him, that silver medal, his first. Great from him. So Dohyun Lee for South Korea. Keep an eye on South Korea. They are coming. Seon-so for the women, of course.
Dohyun Lee. What a performance tonight.
Dohyun Lee as strong members to that team.
And now, ladies and
But
gentlemen,
finally, the man of the hour, the man of the
history
evening,
by
Colin Duffy,
grabbing some gold
will
medals
stand
in the youth
higher
stage.
than anyone
Now
else on
he's
the
up
top spot
in
of that
the world
podium to
stage
pick up
of sports
that
climbing.
gold medal that's waiting for him.
First place, gold
All of his hard work
medalist
paying off in this
and
moment.
winner
He
of the
looked good throughout the
IFSC
competition. The
Climbing
semi-finals was
World Cup,
ominous with his
Boulder,
form.
Innsbruck 2022.
And as the mist crosses the stage, Colin Duffy will take his place on the top of the world right now, here tonight in Innsbruck. It's a gold medal for Colin Duffy. Fantastic performance from him.
Smile creeping up his face the whole time. Finally gets to realize it as he stands on top of the podium.
I like the piece of paper confirming his first place there he's holding, just in case he'd forgotten.
Dohyun Lee and Yoshiyuki Ogata.
Well, it's almost national anthem time,
If you don't
and Colin
stand,
Duffy will hear his
please
national anthem
rise.
played out across the
For the
stadium
national
for the first time this
in
year.
honor to the winner, Colin
Let's
Duffy.
listen to the national
The
anthem
national
of the
anthem
USA.
of the United States of America.
Well, there we go. The last few notes of the anthem echo through our stadium, and we're almost done here this evening.
These are the medalists.
Congratulations to all of our athletes. Thank you, Dan, for joining me here in the commentary box. Always a pleasure, man. Thank you very much
for having me.
Well, we will be back tomorrow for the women's semi-final and final, taking place at the same time as today. Lead at the weekend, of course. And make sure you go and check out the paraclimbing from yesterday. That was another wonderful event. So congratulations to Colin Duffy and all of our finalists here tonight. Route setters for creating a brilliant route. We will return for more action as the athletes throw the flowers into the audience. Thank you for watching here tonight, and we will see you soon.